It is currently April 7th, 1862, and we have just recently beaten back a Union army that was trying to cross the Mississippi into Missouri. The Union forces in the West seem determined to cross the Mississippi at all costs to invade Missouri. So the Army of the Northwest has been beaten back with the addition of the 35th Army as they've gone into defensive mode. The other supporting armies, Army of the Mississippi and the 36th Army, seem to be having some supply and morale issues. So Albert Sidney Johnston's Army of the West, I think he is going to try to roll up this floundering Union force along the Mississippi, as we seem to have them now floundering here along the Mississippi. They're trying to build, they're definitely trying to build a supply base along the Mississippi, as they're building a depot right here at this, almost trying to create their own makeshift ferry crossing and supply base along the banks. Since they've lost Cairo, we seem to have full control of this area right now. Now, the one thing that's kind of awkward for us, though, is we're kind of straddling the Mississippi. Which brings me to a thought, though, since the game uses pre-built maps, it's going to try to, if we engage the enemy, it's going to try to match the best map with the area, whether it's a historical or one of the more random but pre-made map. Here's where that kind of hurts the situation, because really what you're looking for, if we engage one of these armies along the banks, let's say Hood's Corps is on the west bank of the Mississippi and Price's Corps is coming along the east bank of the Mississippi, that creates a strategic situation where Hood might be stuck if there's not a good crossing point. This was exactly the challenge McClellan had on the peninsula in that campaign, where he had a large part of his army on the other side of the, I forget if it was the James or the York River, but one of the major, or the Chickahominy, actually, now that I think about it, without actually looking it up, I think it was the Chickahominy that Porter's Corps was on the other side, and he had to get him, and since Lee took the initiative, he wanted to trap Porter on the other side of that river, which made it more difficult for McClellan to send reinforcements over the bridges. So you would have a situation like that if the map represented that situation. Just a thought about the map situation. Because especially the Mississippi is not as easily forded. Because we have Hood and Buckner on the west bank of the Mississippi. We'll try to have Hood cross back over. Now he's going to go and use we'll keep Buckner on the Missouri side of the Mississippi. We have Blanchard here in support. And he's actually in command range of Johnston. So what we can actually do is attach Blanchard. Now Zollicoffer will protest this move of transferring Blanchard to Johnston. Blanchard, it's only a division-sized corps, but that way we can more easily support Buckner in case the bulk of the Union forces actually cross into Missouri. So we'll have Blanchard, Buckner. Hood's going to try to come into better. Hood is going to come back over to the Illinois side of the Mississippi to support Price, as we're going to try to roll up this entire Department of the West. We either will keep his scouts on the Union movements. Looks like there's some officer casualties in Johnston's army. So right now, I do not see a good way of finding your wounded in action, missing in action. Toombs is actually missing in action. He's not wounded in action. He's missing in action. Anyways, so if you want to officers that are in the officer pool, you can sort out wounded in action like that. But if you have a commissioned officer, if you have an assigned officer, there's no good way to sort him out, because Toombs is still in command of the Georgia State Militia Cavalry Brigade. But there's no way for me to, maybe if I click on the entire army. Now, yeah, the filters won't, I can't go straight to a wounded, so you have to click through it or go by memory. I suppose we should replace Toombs. He's missing. Toombs is missing. Guess we can find a unassigned cavalry officer. What about Lieutenant William Wolford? Give the young lieutenant. Why does the young lieutenant look older than everyone else? They must have got this portrait of him much after the war. He's a political general from Georgia. A lot of Georgians. Let's assign John Chambliss, who is now a colonel, so he gets a promotion. So that removes the high officer casualty. So the situation report on Johnston will let you know if you have a wounded officer or missing in action officer in your force. So at least it'll indicate to you that you need to take care of that. So the Army of Kentucky is marching into northern Kentucky, as we want to put some pressure on the Ohio River, the cities along the Ohio, so we can maybe take Cincinnati, which would also check the Capture 3 Cities box. Alright, so we are already upgrading the Cairo Pinckneyville Railroad Depot. We also have one depot here at Sterling Price has high officer casualties. So there must be someone else in Johnston's command. Oh, Kershaw. This is the second time I think Kershaw was wounded. Even though he's defamed, he still has a lot of other good traits, so we will reassign Daniel Frost to this brigade. Price is getting low on ammo, though. He's not drawing supplies yet from any depot. They're suffering from attrition. I mean, they are entering more of a wilderness region, so we're going to upgrade our depots in Washington, as well as Frederick. Ewell is going to attempt to take Baltimore, while it looks like the Union has taken a defensive posture in Maryland, trying to defend Annapolis, and now over in Gettysburg. So our reserve army in the Department of the Interior, commanded by Porterfield. So we are recruiting some men there. We half a month before they are recruited. The volunteers available are very small. We are able to recruit a small brigade from Arkansas. Trying to build up another small force to guard the valley, since we've moved all our forces out of the Shenandoah Valley to support Beauregard in Maryland. So Beauregard getting a little bit nervous. He's still got Preston on scouting. His army, his cavalry corps looks like in good condition. He is going to go back towards the Harper's Ferry Bridge and make sure that area is secure. We actually have Preston assigned to McCulloch. What I could do, I am adjusting the financial sliders a little bit in agriculture and industry to make sure we can pay off some debt. I want to keep recruitment up. I have nothing in civil order. Loss of state support due to raiding, drafting, combat losses. So without any funding in that, we might lose support. We're going to detach Stewart's cavalry division from Preston and give it to Beauregard, just so Beauregard actually has a cavalry arm. McCulloch still retains Preston. Stewart was defamed. Just noticed here, Forrest doesn't have the cavalry modifier. Even though he's defamed, I think we'll make Stewart a cavalry corps commander. And Evans will take over Stewart's old. So a little restructuring of the armies. I was about to break up McCulloch's army a little bit more and give even a division to Beauregard, but I didn't do that. What we did was I split Preston's cavalry corps so that we have some cavalry with McCulloch and cavalry corps with Beauregard under Stuart. So we are upgrading the depots in Washington and Frederick, and as soon as Lee, especially Lee's corps, who's remaining unready and low in supplies and food, we will still attempt to push Ewell to Baltimore because it looks like the Union may not give battle in that case. So Ewell is on the march. Lincoln emancipates the slaves. All slaves from secession states are free. Government support in free states soar. The Confederates vow stiff resistance. Europeans in favor of emancipation. Actually, it doesn't look like it did anything for support in the Union. Right, morning of April 8th. All right, Lee's starting to draw more supplies in now. We're going to order Jeb Stuart to scout ahead. And then now the morning of April 9th, Ewell approaching the outskirts of Baltimore. Confederacy issues bonds. So we get an infusion of cash, hopefully pay off some of this debt and increase our debt rating. Ewell has outpaced his supplies though. That's fine. He's going to encamp. He should be able to draw off more supplies. So 44 days to upgrade these depots to level 2. But Ewell is in the process of capturing Baltimore. Army of Indiana, kind of on the outskirts of the valley, but still in Pennsylvania, according to our intelligence reports. Pegram's Corps of Cavalry getting ready to invade into Kansas and start taking some of the forts and outposts there in that state and try to persuade them to just join the Confederacy. So supplies are being drawn into our corps now in the west. It looks like they'll be fine. We have an army, the 35th Army. Are they retreating back at their... Looks like they're retreating back to Salem. Oh, so there was some pursuit and skirmishing going on with the 35th Army. Mexican intervention escalates. The British and Spanish withdraw. Napoleon III vows to conquer Mexico. The French push inland. Mexican army in disarray. So rearguard action for the retreating 35th. Confederacy extends contracts to 3 years. 3 years or the war. The CSA prepares for a long war. States struggling to fill quotas. New regiments are formed. We should get a bump in recruitment. Ewell is in Baltimore. Army of Kentucky. Armistead is in Louisville right now, and looks like we've actually captured some southern Indiana outposts or farms. So we have taken over some farms in Indiana, and the town of Vernon has showed their support for the Confederacy. And we've recruiting some more troops in the west. We recruited them straight to Johnston. Once they arrive, we will assign them to the specific divisions. So that's another approach I was thinking of when you're recruiting new soldiers. Recruit them to the Army headquarters, and then from the Army headquarters you can transfer them to what corps you want. And I think it just takes like a day for them to transfer. So I really want to strike at this Army of the Mississippi. So let's order Price to initiate. Buckner will also... Let's see if Buckner will be able to participate on the other side of the Mississippi. So we're ordering all corps to converge. Johnston's readiness is red. That's not good. Actually, I think recruiting those brigades to Johnston is causing the readiness issue. Oh yes, we have a policy to choose. We might have to spend some more for an additional policy. Well, not that much more. I think we're going to do the industry policy, so we're actually going to reduce funding in industry and agriculture. They're really watching this credit rating suffer, but we're going to... Oh, we cannot do industrialization 3. We did not pick the pre-war industrialization. Oh yes, oh no, that's the United States. We cannot do the industrialization 3 policy because we did not pick industrialization as a pre-war policy. I suppose we can do government funding since our cash reserves are starting to suffer. With economic policies, the nation's credit rating is improved and new acts for funding the war effort are made available. An improved credit rating means lower interest rates on new loans. So let's do that one. Oh, lots of volunteers now. So I'm actually thinking maybe we should lower recruitment since we just keep it around 100. Let's boost up industry again to 90, agriculture to 40, and balance that out a little bit. I'm actually going to recruit a new army. This is going to be the Western Reserve Army. Did they find tombs? Bragg might be actually a very good candidate for this position. Here we are, the Second Battle of the Mississippi. It's a different battle map than the first one, though. But our cavalry commander, Joseph Wheeler, has scouted out and said we are facing the Army of the Mississippi under the command of Smith A. Cutler, with a strength of 26,000 men and 44 guns. The enemy is green and the morale is reported to be determined. Reports indicate their supply situation is outstanding. The supply state of our army is outstanding. Let me backtrack and explain that we did lose a little bit of footage in between the start of this battle and the strategic situation. But the Second Battle of Mississippi has started. Price's Corps, with the assistance of Wheeler's cavalry, has caught up to one of the Union Corps along the Mississippi River and have engaged in battle. So why don't we watch this Second Battle of Mississippi? But these are the forces that are on the field. No one is expecting reinforcements. We do have both Hood and Buckner. Their corps are on the way or in the vicinity, but they will not be partaking in this battle. Which would be surprising if the battle were to last several days. I don't see why they could not join the battle. They could be 48, 72 hours away. So we have ordered D.H. Hill's division to march down the Old Town Road through Springfield and cross either at Brewster's Ford or Till's Ford. We suspect the Union is somewhere around the Springfield Road. Maybe here at the Coach Station Road.